And then I can divide around the wave like that. This is the sea place here and horizontal part, the end of the sea. So I'm not going to add these details now. We do it by paint, exact paint. But just for the lady, I'm going to draw one by one for the hat, the torso, foot, leg, and everything. So if I want to place, if you divide the body in half, more space we need for this part, less space here. So I put more space for the foot and leg and less space for torso and hat. And head, sorry. So now I focus on the top part. It's exactly half-half. From this part of the dress, neck and the hat and the breast is equal half. So I divide it into the half. And now it's more easy to place everything. Make it easy. This is good for the dress part. With one line come up, one line a little here. And this part of the dress is exactly half-half because this is the white part and this is the creamy part. So I divided the creamy part like that, add a tone, and just go with the simple line to separate the white part of the dress. And then if I want to place the hat and the head, it's a hair, a little bit of face is visible, but most of the part is her hat. So this is the curvy part of the top of hat. It's so small, like an oval shape. And then separate this line from both sides that connect together with nice C curve. The details, we will do it later. Just the whole shape is enough for now. And this is the hair. A tiny bit of face is visible, not much. Then I would like to place the hands. And if you see it's in an angle, like this line in an angle, one hand is on top. So I just need to connect the hat with the dress, with the sleeves that it's cut here. And it's not visible much, just a brush stroke or even because it shows that she take her hat, but just with two brush stroke, it's visible, look like hand. It doesn't need to draw that now. Just place it here. And for the other hand, is a little bit more visible, like that comes out for the arm, and then connect it to this part of the hat. A little bit more we need to add for this one, like that, in a simple shape. Now for next part, which is this part, it's a little longer, and it's the skirt. It shows that the wing is bring the skirt toward the right side. So more space as a curve come here, and then this part of the skirt, it's moved toward right. And this part, I'm going to be a little bit straight. And again, this wind bring this part of the skirt toward right. If you see, some part is like that, like a fold, turn toward the right side. And these are connect together. A little bit on the bottom part, it's visible as a dark color, so I add a tone. Like this. For the details, I will do it later, and it's not visible, the foot, very well. Just mention about a little bit here, and this is the foot. I just add a tone, and the shadow is visible under it here. A little bit darker. So even for mixing the paint, I prefer to mix with palette knife, not with the brush, because acrylic has glue inside, and during the time damage this part of the brush, this part. Because of that, I prefer to mix with palette knife. So it's good for mixing the paint, and it's good for apply on paint on a canvas and make some creativity. So take a lots of white, bring it here. Little by little, add the blue into that to see what happened. You're happy with this mixture or not? So for the sky color, close to the horizon, it's better to make a cloudy shape. So it's better to have a little bit lighter blue like that. That's fine. But I'm going to add another dark blue like cobalt or ultramarine. Start with this darker blue that you make, apply on the surface. Even if you want to make a little bit more heavy, take heavy texture like that. This is heavy paint I take. And I try not to go and back a lot and fade this to the background. I try to make it a texture on top, even with the brush. This is the dark blue we will add, and this is the brown a little bit. I'm going to add that too. So mix with them together, but I prefer to have more blue because it's dark. And a tiny bit of the light blue, it's interesting to have. That's good for the horizon of the sea, the stems. And I'm going to bring some wave on top with the light blue, so it doesn't need to just use the dark color. We will bring lighter blue on top as well. I'm going to use a smaller brush because this is not a big part. So take this heavy paint, freely bring on top, and add heavy paint. Just be careful for the horizon. It's better to be so flat and liney. For that part I mentioned it's better to be flat, but for the rest it's okay to bring just heavy paint and make it cover. But I'm not focused on the other part because this is just the dark blue. I would like to, even you can fix the drawing shape as well. So I would like to bring the wave on top. I don't want to let lighter blue with the tip of flat brush. Just make a wave. Some line, bring it on top. Even it can be small or shorter line. And in the edges of this part, it's better to have more light blue color. And it's not really flat, it's in an angle. Then this light blue can come here to cover a little bit more space on this part before we add the wave. And I'm going to finish one part, then move on the next, because I would like to keep my paint be wet. When you move the other part, then the left side get completely dry and not give us a chance to finish this part. Still, I'm not going to use palette knife, but for the wave, I will go with the palette knife. We add a lots of white into this light blue. So again, we need to add more white into that. And then we need to make, with this mustardy color, we need to make a creamy color. And again, add a lots of white into this one as well. So please add white color. More white. Even we need a lot because we need to bring the wave with the pure white color on top. So take more white into the blue. Make it lighter tone. And clean the palette knife with napkin. Take mustardy color. I don't say it can be raw sienna, it can be yellow ochre, it can be any color close to that. Add a little white into that to make it more creamy, look like creamy color. We need the pure of this color too. And then the lighter tone, two different value, more interesting to have. I'm going with a little bit bigger size of brush, and randomly and freely you can add, take blue, just apply on a surface. Doesn't need to be think about anything, just freely apply on a surface, because we will bring the wavy tone on top. And for some part, this blue need to be visible. And then the creamy color to cover the base of our painting. And then it's better to be with a smaller brush stroke, with a smaller palette knife, because it's not a big part. We can use the palette knife with three part of it. It's same as brush. So this part is look like a flat brush. You can use whole this part. You can use both side of the palette knife, or you can use the tip of palette knife for make a texture. From one side, you can take the paint, like white color from one side, and then so freely add, take your hand like that. You can add on the top of your surface, then easily try to bring it down. With less pressure, try to control your hand, not add the pressure a lot, because we don't want to cover whole this part with the white color. We would like to see the bluey and this creamy color under it. Because of that, I need to control my hand. And even when one layer of the palette knife cover, you let it completely dry and again work on top. It's so interesting because you work on top of heavy texture and make texture on top of texture, which is so nice and interesting. So work on whole the part with the white color, and even you can bring back the creamy color on top as well for some part which is neat. And in some case, if both color be wet, they mix together. If you see the palette knife like that, you can use this back of the palette knife, hold the part, or just the tip for small part. But the most popular work with the palette knife is this both side, left and right. You can add the paint like that. Take it from one side and put it on a surface. Just very gently move it with less pressure on the part. Or you can put from this side, from this other side. Take your paint from bottom part. So I'm going to work with a smaller brush, like how much this brush size? It's like half a finger size, like that. It's a small. If you have more easy to work with a smaller brush. So the same technique that we use here, it's happened for lady. So we need this creamy color, pure one, and the mixture with the white, and then this light blue color. So we need to premix again a little more. We have the pure mustard color. And then we can add a little bit here to add with the white color. I'm going to start with the hat. It's more creamy color. So add a tone with this color on top. I'm not adding a ribbon for now. Just a creamy tone on top and the bottom of hat. With gentle C curve, because even the brush stroke, it's nice to be visible as a C curve. Like that. So please add a creamy tone here. I would like to let it a little bit dry and then add texture on top. So move on. Next part, which is this light part, it's covered by blue. I'm going to add a little blue into that. It's covered by lots of white color later. But for now, I'm going to cover it by blue. Then this part of the dress is pure yellow ochre or sienna, just a pure one. And they are not separate from each other with the line. It's a little bit zigzaggy shape. And these are the base that we make. For skirt is colorful with the blue and the base with the creamy color both. So the right side is more bluey. I'm going to add just a flat blue here. I can see lots of blue under the palette knife line, so cover it with more blue. Try to be more flat because the edges between the wave and the skirt, it's not with the palette knife. Even if you like to add a little darker blue, welcome to do that and make the fabric very nice here on the edge, like that. And just go with the shape of a hat to add a little bit stroke, again, very gently, not cover whole this creamy part. Just try to leave it some part be visible as a creamy color and play with your stroke with your palette knife to bring the white color and move it a little close to the right side. Let me bring it close to camera to see what happened. And then when we bring the ribbon under it, it's more visible. I just work to add more white color one side and then help it move the other side. And then when you add more stroke play with the tip of palette knife, you make it interesting like this. Just go like that to make it interesting texture. With this a small part of the palette knife. Shape the hat interesting like that. You see I'm just touching with palette knife to make texture on top of the hat. And then some part I can move and let the creamy color be visible under it. Even you can hear the sound that it makes. So this is about the tiny part of hat. For all the small part, we need to use just the tip of palette knife. Like this. A little bit on sleeve. Try to add. A little bit on the top. Try not to lose the shape. We need to keep the bluey color and then work to make a texture on top of skirt. Sorry, dress. You still need work on the skirt later. Just this. Tip and a side. From top to the bottom. When I move, I try to play here, not to make look like the line. When you want to use a small brush and use the tip of brush, you need to be more accurate. You need to play with the tip of your brush. The same happens for palette knife. You need to be more accurate and you need to just work with the tip. Let me bring close to camera. You can see the texture I make by tip of palette knife. I don't put the palette knife and then move it there. I just go with the tip, try to use a small texture on top, small stroke like that. Shape it more accurate, look like the shape of dress that I want. Even if you're not happy with one part, I just by mistake bring the white color here. I'm not happy with that. Again, back to the brown and blue. Try to cover it. Yep, feel happy more with this. And then for this small part, it's more creamy. Just a tiny bit white we need to bring on one side. We don't need a lot for here. Even I add a lot. So back to the creamy color. Bring it back. We'll cover it. That's better. Yeah. I feel happy to have one touch of blue here because it's effect on the background with the blue. Yeah, one or two touch of blue, interesting to have. And with more attention, we need to move on one, put here, move it down. Put your brush, palette knife, sorry, here, and then move it down. Bring it down, more straight. Even you can make a texture in between, but it's more straight to bring it down. But please not cover everywhere. because if you add a lots of white color on that, then it's not separate from the rest of the wave. 1 or 2 touch would be enough. But you need to take like this, just the edges we need to have, and make like the V shape with the edges. Make something like that, even if it's not cover whole the part, even if it's just like a broken line happen. And then from the other side. If it's easy to go with palette knife, you can go with palette knife and make a V shape. If it's not, you can go with tip of flat brush or round and pointy brush. So I go with palette knife like that to show you. Then I'm going to add with the tip of round and pointy brush diluted into the white paint, and make some narrow line like this on the sky. Make a V shape. So narrow and tiny because they're not close to us, they are on the sky. To make something close, because the skin tone is not pink color, is something pinky, yellowy, something like that. So we need this reddish color. We need mustard color that we already have and mixed with the white color, so it's a creamy tone. That's good. And if we need to add white color, we add some white color too. This is the good color for skin tone. And I'm going to add a little darker brown for the shadow here. Then clean the brush very well. For the ribbon, we move on with blue color with the same brush. Just narrow line around this part of the hat, but with the darker blue. Draw one C curve. Even if you like, you can add a little blue, brown into the blue to make it warm. And then one part move here. The other move this part.